All right, guys, what's going on? So I'm in the studio right now. I am literally about to start getting some work done, sleeving some cards up. I've got a ton of like promos and singles that I've been picking up, all in the preparation to do a massive like grading push. I'm going to do, I basically created somewhat of a new strategy and plan for how I'm going to be growing the channel. So I'm in my studio right now doing some work on that. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to come on really quick because I kind of wanted to discuss this recent issue that we've had with PSA. So, um, I saw, gosh, I wish I would have wrote the guy's name down, but he's one of the more massive like sports cards channel. He just did this Cards HQ. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the main face of Cards HQ. He's he's majorly sponsored by PSA, and he came out and I'm going to be honest, like I've been doing all this work to prepare to get these cards to be able to send off to PSA, and then all of a sudden I see this massive scandal where I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're insanely incentivized to be ripping off their own customers in order to just I mean, print even print money, make gold more than they already are." And so, and I mean, if you didn't hear or see what I'm talking about, there was a person who recently submitted 30 Pikachu and Zekrom uh, promos to PSA, 30 of them, all 30 promos or cards. I don't know if they were promo cards or not. I can't remember, but all of the cards came back as PSA nines. The guy was like, "What the heck?" And then but he accepted the offer because they offered him money on the nines. Well, for whatever reason, I'm not even sure exactly what the reason was why he went back later and decided to check the cert numbers for those cards. But basically, what happened was he found that some of them had been upgraded after the fact to tens. And so it created this massive anxiety and panic within the market, within the hobby, with everyone thinking, "Oh my gosh, PSA, GameStop, they're massively getting into the side of the business where they're profiting from the cards. They want your cards so they can sell them. They don't want to grade your cards for you to have. They want your cards from you. And the cheaper they can get your cards from you and the more they can sell them for to the next person, the more money they're going to make." And so it caused a lot of fear. I mean, I've I've been working up and procrastinating on sending in cards, and I've like been building up a small fund to be able to send in cards. I've been getting ready to send them in, and then all of a sudden this happens. And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, what is going on?" Now I'm like panicked about doing it. And so the guy from Cards HQ came on and he says, "Guys, don't worry. That happened only because someone quality control from PSA actually gets involved if a grader seems like they were too harsh." And so what PSA was doing was is they were actually trying to supposedly they were trying to do the guy a favor by bumping those grades up without him even having had complained yet. It triggered a flag in their system. Now the problem was is that there was a glitch in the fact that it offered him the money before PSA had had the opportunity to do that secondary vetting of the grades to make sure, because PSA doesn't want to be, they don't want people turning away to going to competitors because they're all of a sudden becoming way too harsh with their grades. I mean, if you send in 30 copies of a card, of an ultra modern Pokemon card, and all 30 copies are getting nines, there's something was not quite right there. And so it was actually good to know. And then I actually found out even some more information that it's actually not all that uncommon if you're somebody who puts in larger submissions and you think that the grader was significantly harsh on you. Apparently, there have been people who have been even leaning on PSA and saying, like, "Hey, wait a minute, I vetted these cards incredibly well. I think that they may have not been graded correctly, and I would like to have the grades, reassessed." And that they are apparently people consistently get their grades bumped up, or a percentage of their submission, the grades get bumped back up through them apparently complaining. I'm not sure if this is true. We may have to test this to find out. But either way, it he did alleviate some of my concerns because it did make a lot of sense that PSA would have that failsafe to protect their reputation and make sure that, and to alleviate that fear that people already have, which is that, that these are human beings. We don't know if we're catching them at the end of their day. They're frustrated. They've seen 1,000 Pikachus and they want to vomit if they see another Pikachu. And so they're just going to give you nines because they're pissed at seeing Pikachu, or whatever. There's so many different factors and variables that play into like what, it could be going on in the mind of the grader when he's grading your cards. Um, and if he's just been grading One Piece and then he goes on to Pokemon, well, it just is, there's a lot to it. And um, anyway, don't want to keep going on for too long, but just wanted to kind of put that out there because one of the things I wanted to mention and kind of bring up is that what if PSA, what if they, because they were doing that thing where they were offering like a conditioning service, right? What if there was a way that they could try to get around it and not have it even in their mind, or maybe even to, like, in a legal way, look like they're really scamming and ripping off their customers, but in fact actually still doing that? What if they were able to say they graded your card that you submitted, and then after they graded it a 9, they offer you the 9 price. They are going to send you your 9 if you want it sent back to you. But then all of a sudden, let's say you all of a sudden, they take it and they're like, well, we only 9'd it because there was a smudge on it. And after we 9'd it and bought it from you, we went ahead and opened it back up. We cleaned off that smudge and then we regraded it a 10 because in the condition that you sent it to us in, it was not a 10. But we reconditioned the card because you didn't pay for it to be done through us. Now we've reconditioned it for ourselves to now become a 10. I think that there's a strange window there, and that's the one that I would honestly be the most concerned about, where they could actually do what people were really afraid that they were doing, but actually do it, and do it in a way where they are protected from any kind of like real legal recourse. Because obviously what they did, I actually do genuinely believe that it was a mistake, that it was an accident, and that it wasn't just a coordinated effort by PSA to be ripping off customers. Because just like the guy from Cards HQ said, there's so much risk to their business in getting involved with that, and so much potential like legal recourse that they could be affected by, that it really doesn't seem like it would be worth it for them to do it in that way. But then again, at the same time, they say the same thing about these sports figures that are making millions and they're still cheating and doing these gambling scandals on the side. So I'm not going to put anything past anyone. At the end of the day, though, PSA still reigns supreme. If you want the potential to own PSA 10 cards and grow the value of a single into a 10, there is still no way that you can do that other than sourcing the single and sending the card to PSA. That's still your only option, regardless of how you feel about everything. Because your only other chance is to send it to one of the other grading companies, and none of them have completely clean hands. So anyway, I didn't even mean for this to be an 8-minute video, but I kind of am just curious about what everybody else's thoughts are about that whole scandal. What do you guys think about the changes that PSA has made moving into this like heavy gambling space within the hobby? I'm really curious to see what you guys think about that. So come on, check back in. Let me know what you think. Appreciate y'all for stopping by. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Love y'all. See you soon.